Guys, thanks for joining the stream. By the way, I know, I kind of messaged you last minute, but I'm happy that you hopped on because I think it's a really interesting topic what you guys are doing. And yeah, I guess if you're cool, we could just start off with maybe some basic intros. What your background is, what your history is, and kind of what you're working on.
Sure, sure. So, number one, thank you so much for having us on. We appreciate the invite dearly. We were looking to do something like this, and I came across your profile like a couple of days before you actually reached out. So it was like the universe collided. You couldn't miss it. But my name is Miz. I'm the co-founder of Polyfunder, sort of on the head of marketing side. I come from a
Yeah.
marketing background. Studied it in university, and I've been on social media doing marketing for the past 6 years, 7 years or so. Um, and we got together a few months ago. Thought about this idea when my co-founder here approached me with it, and we've been letting it loose ever since.
Yeah, so I'll introduce myself quickly as well. My name is Samani. I'm the head of engineering and product at Polyfunder. Um, yeah, so I've been in the software engineering space and I've worked in the field in SF in Canada, many places. But yeah, we thought of this idea towards the end of last year, where we wanted to provide funding initially for sports books and like sports trading. But then we realized like poly market that already exists in the sports betting world, but prediction markets at the moment don't have anything that provides funding like that, and I think it's very much needed for this space. So yeah, we've been working on it ever since, and we launched earlier this year.
So do you guys have a history in prediction markets, or are you kind of like fresh to prediction markets right out of sports books, basically?
I
It's
mean, we've
a
played around with it for a while.
Mm.
It wasn't that like we didn't just think of the idea for prediction markets and then we got into it. We were
Mhm.
already using it. I was familiar with it. That's why when Miz approached me with the idea of doing it for sports trading and stuff like that, I was like, why don't we actually do it for poly market right now? Because like I'm familiar with how it works and I know what's needed in this space right now.
Yeah, that's a very good idea. I mean, like, what does it take to launch one of these things? To like launch a prop trade, or well, maybe you could, you know, just briefly describe. I mean, there might be some people that I think a lot of people know what a prop trading firm is, but a prop trading firm is basically like, you know, you're a trader, and the firm will select traders who are like good, preferably, and then those traders will get funding. And there's generally like a funding range, and it works on like a fee model, right? So basically, like there's a fee split between the firm and the trader.
Yeah, exactly that. So essentially speaking, prop firms, they've existed for years. It's not a new idea. Predominantly in the forex trading space as well as the cryptocurrency space, and it allows users of these different markets that have the skill to trade, but not the capital to make it a full-time thing, right? Before prop firm trading, when people had to rely on live trading, they had to rely on the investment that they could make with their own capital. And as much as you can build up a decent amount of skill using your own capital, it is hard in this day and age to make that sufficient for a full-time living. Now, when we saw the growth of poly market and the prediction market space as a whole, we immediately realized that this was the next step to further even um how can I say, to further emphasize poly market space in the actual trading world rather than like a gambling platform, if that makes sense. Now, essentially speaking, we work with a profit split similar to many other prop firms, and we currently do a 90% to the trader split, and then 10% to us. And yeah, no, it's working really well. People are loving the idea for sure.
How big are they in sports books? Like how big are they in like crypto versus sports? Because
Yeah.
I'm sure they exist in crypto, but like, is it a bigger market for sports books? Like, is there something about like, traditional sports betting that lends itself better to prop trading?
No,
I just want to get a sense of like the market size.
sure. No, so essentially speaking, prop firms in themselves have been massive in the forex space for years. That's probably where they lead the biggest market capitalization. As far as cryptocurrency, what has basically happened is a lot of the people or companies such as FTMO and so on and so forth, they have introduced crypto as part of their uh, infrastructure in itself. So it's like an extension almost of the forex market. Now, for sports books, they're relatively new still. There's a few out there that are doing well, and they launched in sort of the first 3 to 4 years. But at the end of the day, 90% of people that are gambling on, sort of casinos or sports betting websites understand that it is a gamble. It is not a lucrative form of consistent income. It's not as skill based as forex, crypto, or prediction markets can be.
Mhm.
And as a result, the void that they feel isn't nearly as big as what forex done and what the crypto market's done. Uh, and I think that with the introduction of prop firms for the prediction market space, we want to help veer that entire space towards a market presence rather than a gambling presence. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think you put it well too. Like, I think you touched on this a little bit. That prediction markets kind of sit in the middle of, like forex and kind of gambling sports, but like there's more skill involved. It's not just straight up gambling.
Yeah.
You can kind of like build analysis as a trader. There's evaluation metrics, which I don't know, there might be more or less than like, say, like, I don't know, like DraftKings or something like that. You know, Obviously you guys would know more about that. But yeah, I think you brought up a very good point. Like in terms of like the difference between like, is there anything you have to watch out for when creating a prop trading firm for these types of for these types of derivatives? Like things that you wouldn't have to kind of look out for if you were doing
Yeah.
it in like crypto, for instance.
100%. So with crypto markets, the prices are obviously determined by the markets of crypto, what price Bitcoin is at, or Ethereum, or so on and so forth. With prediction markets, Polymarket have obviously encouraged building massively, which is a point that I'd like to touch on a little bit later because it is something that I think is going to benefit the space in a very big way. The prices are determined by poly markets themselves. Now, what we have to do is ensure that we've got safeguarding, just like any other prop firm would, with rules and so on and so forth to make sure that people don't abuse the system of getting funded, right?
Mhm.
You don't want to put up to $200,000 of funding with the wrong person. So as long as people are using the tools that we've provided in the manner that we expect, then we should be okay. But we are also early stages in the prediction market space, in my opinion. Early stages definitely for the prop firm space within that. And as a result, we have more testing to do ourselves. But so far, so good. Everyone's on good behavior.
Are there any markets that you would look at and be like, no, I'm not gonna, I
I'm
don't
not
care how good of a trader you are, I'm not taking that gamble. that market is just too ridiculous. Like, because I know that there's a lot of that in poly market. Like there's some markets
Yeah.
like the up down markets, for instance, which sometimes it's like, a lot of people say you need like a really good algo bot to trade those markets consistently and successfully. So just curious what your guys' thoughts on that is.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, yeah, those markets are definitely lean more towards like the gambling side rather than, you have a skill in a niche, or like, you have some extra knowledge on a specific topic where, you can trade better than other people. But also any markets where there's low liquidity is also an issue, like low volume, where like someone can manipulate the price on poly market and then try hedge against that on Polyfunder. Things like that we don't allow, because obviously, yeah, that's going to be a very easy way to like hack the system.
Oh, that's really interesting. Like, especially like markets that might also be like insider driven, like pure insider driven markets. Obviously you wouldn't want the insider to be betting on to be taking your funds and maybe betting on those markets, or would you? I don't know. It's
I mean,
you know,
but in all seriousness, at the end of the day, if we're being realistic, of course, insider trading is going to be an issue within prediction markets, right? And we've seen Polymarket take steps towards trying to mitigate that as much as possible. They've essentially put a platform out there for people to use, and platforms can be misused, right? It's like the famous saying of guns don't kill people, people kill people. Now, as far as insider trading within Polyfunder, we have built this space for a much different user base. And the reason I say that is because if you're an insider trader that understands a certain possibility of something happening and knowing that you can hedge against that, the likelihood is that you're within your own means to invest accordingly and try and reduce as much friction as possible by just putting in as much as you can whenever you want, directly through Polymarket, in all fairness. The consumer base that we're targeting are the everyday, the average individual. So when I say I come from a background of social media marketing and found Polymarket's like sort of their rise to success so interesting, is in specific, when I was about 17 years old, I started off with meme pages and blog pages, if you've ever heard of them. And when I was looking and kind of analyzing Polymarket's Instagram and some of their other social medias, not as much X, but mainly Instagram, to be fair, it is very much a blog / meme page. And they release news, which is then obviously in turn engaged with, because it will be recent news or latest news or breaking news and so on and so forth. And then they allow people to place bets on those pieces of information. And I found the whole idea in itself infatuating, because I was behind the screen running blog pages and meme pages for years. I very much understood the idea of garnering engagement from providing people with that sort of information. And as a result, when I then came to see Polymarket's way of essentially monetizing it, I was extremely impressed, especially since at the time when Polymarket was a bit smaller, this was far before the election that really blew them up. They had come to us for campaigns, and I didn't give it too much thought at the time, but a year or two later, and they absolutely they changed the entire way people perceive and analyze the news, right? So yeah, I think I veered off a little bit there, but it makes
yeah, yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, I think Polymarket definitely changed. And Kelshi too. I think they both kind of really changed the way news and media is interpreted. And to be honest with you, I've had people on, we've had discussions like this before. Like there's so many ideas that you could build beyond just trading ideas. Like you could you could probably create like an entirely different kind of news interface based off of the data that you're able to get out of Polymarket. Like not even trading, just browsing and bit like better ways to browse information. Um,
100%.
you know, there's so many ideas that can come out of Polymarket that couldn't come out of just straight, with crypto. It's kind of like, I come from the crypto world, so it's kind of like, there's DeFi. It's all like trading at the end of the day, or at least a lot of it. But with Polymarket you can do more, which is what got me into prediction markets.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree. I think primarily speaking, right, the world that we live in today is very different than the world that existed 50 years ago before social media, and it's only ever growing. So people's opinions online are heavily swayed by that of the others, right?
Mhm.
And then you have the few black sheep, if you will, that will change their opinion based upon engagement and so on and so forth. So, like, how does misinformation even start, right? Someone will comment something on a post that is receiving a lot of engagement, and they will see that their comment got engagement. That will give them a slight dopamine rush, which will encourage them to comment maybe opinions that they don't truly believe in, things they don't truly make sense of, more on different kinds of posts of social media. Now, that entire thing then extrapolates and creates a lot of misinformation within people themselves because people interpret that information as truth. Whereas Polymarket are asking you to put money behind your opinion and money behind your belief. And when that then becomes the case, the truth then comes out a lot more, doesn't it? And we saw that with the election, where most of the news articles and reporters had Joe Biden and Trump neck on neck, whereas Polymarket was the only platform, or one of the only platforms, that actually had Donald Trump winning quite comfortably, I believe. Um, and it just goes to show you that the news in itself that exists today aims to engage people for as long as possible and give them information that causes discussions, whereas Polymarket just want you to discuss the truth. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and like the only time you're able to kind of, the only window of opportunity you have to manipulate the truth is just in the trade, like before resolution. But once
Sure.
resolution comes, there's no debate, right? I mean,
Sure.
sometimes there is, but it's usually just because of like an Oracle malfunction or something like,
Yeah.
I mean, but practically speaking, it will resolve to the truth eventually. So you will find out what's real and what's not, and you will lose money if you hold till that resolution and you're wrong. So
100%.
so it's a complete system. Yeah, it is kind of like a truth machine, and I think that we lose sight of that because of all the recent stuff that's been happening. But it's all fluff in my opinion. Like at the end of the day, you're right.
I mean, it just goes back to that saying, right? Guns don't kill people, people kill people. It is very much a platform that was needed in a day and age where misinformation can be so praised. It can be so engaged with positively. When a platform like Polymarket comes out, or like Kalshi, where people are asked to put money behind their opinions, people will speak their truth. And I definitely agree with what you said regarding.
I think we had like a little bit of a connection blockage, but hopefully you guys can hear me.
I can hear you just fine. Can you hear
Yeah.
me?
Oh, okay, good. Okay, yeah, I think we went offline just briefly, but I think it's okay. So I
Okay,
so I have a couple more questions for you in terms of your platform. Like in
sure.
terms of the evaluation process for traders, how does that work? Like how do you choose, like, a trader comes to your platform, you have this money to give them. How do you allocate that resource, and what do you look for in like the trader that you give 100,000 versus the trader that you give like $20? I don't know if that's a min, but
Yeah, so the evaluation doesn't actually, so we don't individually analyze each trader. We have rules set up that we believe if you can hit specific targets and stay within certain rules, so that you're not trading erratically or anything, like kind of dangerous, and you can pass that challenge. So you can go onto here and pick any one of these challenges, and you can, if you believe you have the skill for it, you can go straight for the $200,000 challenge. And then if you pass that challenge, hit your profit target of 30%, don't like lose too much money in the process whilst doing it, then we'll give you the funded account, because you've proven to us that you are a responsible trader, you are profitable. So there is no reason for us not to fund you and then split the profit with you.
I see. Okay, so you basically hit certain milestones in these various challenges, and then you can, if you succeed at that challenge, you'll get a funded account, and it ranges from 10,000 to 200,000.
Yeah, and we also have a free demo for people who want to just test out the platform to kind of get familiar with prop firms and how they work, as we know a lot of people in the prediction market space aren't too familiar with that concept.
And in terms of like getting this business started, like a business like this, how do you get a business like this going? Like, do you need upfront capital? Do you need investors? What is the require? Like, if you're an entrepreneur, how would you proceed in this direction if you wanted to?
I think number one is you either have the balls to lose it all, or you need to be a little bit crazy, or yeah, you have some good backing behind you. And I think we've got a keen mix of both. So as a result, we're able to kind of to do what we do and not have to worry a crazy amount. What I will say is it's all about finding an opportunity that makes sense within the space and then exploring it. As far as prop firms for forex trading and crypto trading, there are established companies that have sort of mounted their space within the market. As far as sports books, it's not really seen as a place of trading. It's more gambling. You have a few influencers and whatnot that will claim they're a professional sports bettor, and I'm sure some of them are very good, but it isn't the same. Now, we identified that this issue here isn't the same as any one of them. There isn't a competitor. We were the world's first, and we just were willing to take the punt. That is honestly what it comes down to with this kind of stuff.
So do you have traders on your platform right now then who are actively trading?
Yeah. So at the moment, we have I can't remember what the exact figure is. Samani, do you remember?
The number of users, like traders.
Yeah.
We've got around 2,000 active accounts right now, like active traders.
Okay, so at around 2,000 active accounts, we've, thank God, only had to make around 150 to, I believe it was like $190,000 in payouts as of a couple of days ago. So we actually probably should upgrade the website. And as a result, we've come to kind of, it's weird because when you're at the back end of things, you're able to then see how poly market traders think ultimately. And when you are in that space, you come to believe that the people that have found us are the better traders, because they have to be very involved in order to find a project that still hasn't blew up out of proportion, essentially. But hopefully over the next coming months, we understand the user base more. The user base understands the platform more. We make it more of a platform for everyone, and we continue to grow in that fashion.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually going to ask, because like if I know you guys have to head out soon. You have a 30-minute time limit, but I was actually going to ask if you've noticed any patterns amongst your traders like specific patterns that stick out about what separates a good trader from a bad trader, just off the cuff.
I think one point that comes to mind primarily is, again, I don't want to keep going back to it, but it's just that massive amount of misinformation on social media where people will take data that isn't from Polymarket and use that to trade on Polymarket, which can be very lucrative, but it can be very misinforming. So we've seen like bursts of traders trading in the same direction after a certain piece of news might release. Um, and it's stung us and it's helped us. So I think it then just goes back to it being such a news derived market. And I think
Yeah.
that's what kind of jumps out to me at first.
Yeah, I think I'll add to that as well. Genuinely, the people we've seen that have become the most profitable and that have gotten more than 2, 3 funded accounts, they've tried buying it like quite a few challenges, and like they've tested it out. They've tried different trading like methodologies, and then improved over time, because that's the whole point of this system. All these rules and profit targets and so on isn't just to like make people fail, it's to make you a better trader. And when you become that better trader, we'll give you the funding. So the rules and stuff have actually helped them practice and become better at trading on Polymarket. And then eventually we've seen them improve to get funded more often.
Oh yeah, that's kind of interesting. Kind of like a kind of like almost like a training almost to trade. Setting guidelines, goals, etc.
Yeah. And I think that's actually a big point of prop firms. Like we've seen FTMO do this as well for the Forex market and some other prop firms for the futures market. But yeah, it's actually a learning tool as well as capital.
So my final question to you guys is just kind of just overall prediction market question. What are you excited about? You know what? Actually, I'll ask you this. If you weren't working on this, what project would you be working on? Like what other thing is really interesting to you in this space right now that made you stop and kind of go like, oh yeah, if we weren't doing this, maybe we'd build that instead.
I would say, I mean, I'd preface by saying that we are solely focused within this problem of the market. However, I think that the next most valuable part of poly market and prediction markets as a whole is anything that can help the vehicle drive towards a how do you explain, a skill-based trading system, right? Something that takes poly market completely out of the gambling realm and straight towards, the stocks, the forex, the cryptos. And then aside from that, it is really just the news-based information that you receive from Polymarket. I think the idea you brought up earlier was actually very good. But being able to comprehend the news in a way that gives you the real information without the superficial need of engagement, I think is massive. And I think if someone wanted to work on something with Polymarket and prediction markets, I'd recommend going in that direction. I also want to give a massive shout out, by the way, to Polymarket themselves for the builders kind of program, the whole APIs and everything else.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it just encourages so much creativity around the space. It reminds me of Fortnite, if you ever played it. And when they launched creative and allowed, users to make worlds within their game, it just goes to show a certain amount of humility. Like, look, we've created a good product, a good platform. That doesn't mean there aren't people out there with ideas that can make it better.
Yeah. I mean, so we have K Moore here saying, "Great play, guys." It's a good addition to the prediction market space. I agree. I think this is this is needed, right? This prop firm stuff is definitely needed. Cool, guys. Well. You know, I don't want to keep you too long. I think we're pretty much at deadline, but thanks
Nah,
again
no
for
problem
coming
at
on.
all.
And,
Thank you
and
for having us. I
Thank
think
you very much.
one thing we did want to say was just as a thank you for having us on, and for everyone that stayed for this long, we did want to launch a discount code for all of your followers. If
yeah.
they were looking to maybe try a demo account, they liked it, and then they wanted to go ahead with the challenge. If anyone was interested in doing so, we will do a little discount for everyone. My co-founder here can put it up on his screen because he's got his screen shared.
Yeah.
And then what we could also do maybe is if we'll give away a challenge. How about that? We'll give away a challenge as well. So just comment on our post tweeting about the podcast review today, and we'll pick someone and give them a free challenge.
That's great. That'd be awesome. Thanks for
Yeah,
that.
Let's do it.
20%. See, this is what you get when you listen to Polyfactual. You get the freebies. Just good.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much again for having us. We appreciate it massively. And we look forward to coming on again when hopefully both of our platforms have grown exponentially, my friend.
Yes, let's definitely do it. Let's keep in touch and keep me updated on on how everything goes.
Sure thing. Sounds like a plan.
Cool. Talk to you guys later.
Be safe, brother. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.